Heather Springer will be assisting us again today. Mr. Chair, back to you.
Good morning, Honorable Freeland. Yate Ben.
Good morning. Chairman, good morning. I hope you gave a good testimony to the congressional delegation.
Thank you, Honorable Freeland. I believe it went well, so I would just say that for now. Thank you.
Jonah, good job.
Good morning,
Chairman,
Vice Chair.
Yes, Chairman, those committee members and staff, good morning. Thomas Walker on the call.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Honorable
Chair. Delegate Paul Begay on the line. You did very well in the testimony, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Begay. Yeah.
Good morning, Shami. This is Delegate So. I'm on the line. Chairman Nez, I'm on the line too. Yat Ben.
Yate Ben, Honorable So. Honorable Stewart, Honorable Daniels, Honorable Begay, are you on the call?
Good morning, Chairman. This is Doug Callan online.
Yes, Silla, thank you for being on the call. You just made the quorum.
Okay, thank you.
Well, honorable members of RDC and our staff here today, thank you very much for excusing me last week. I really needed to take care of some family business, and I'm back in the saddle, rejuvenated. So we'll take the bull by the horns now. And I will go ahead and call this meeting to order. We have 4 members present. It is currently 10:07 a.m. My name is Rick Nez, Chair of RDC. And thank you for being on the call. Ms. Begay, could you do the roll call, please?
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the Resource Development Committee. This is a Resource Committee special meeting in lieu of our regular meeting that was set for tomorrow. Roll call for June 15, 2021. Special meeting, Rick Naz.
Delegate Rick Nez is present.
Wilson Stewart Jr. Wilson Stewart Jr. Thomas Walker Jr.
Present.
Herman M. Daniels. Herman M. Daniels. Mark Freeland.
I'm here. President, good morning.
Key Allen Begay.
Good morning, Delegate Callan's present.
Mr. Chair and members of the committee, you have 4 members present and it constitutes a quorum to conduct your meeting. And Delegate Stewart and Herman Daniels will be joining us shortly. Mr. Chair, members of the committee, back to you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Begay, for doing the roll call for us. So there's an invocation to Silla. Honorable Kealan Begay and Hatsadal Zanashwana.
Chairman, good morning, Nana. I apologize for getting on late. RDC members, staff, others, and thank you. I think it's in the whole lot of Bendana, the Silla, so that often do Kodoshi, it Ashi, Outla, Holonigi baby, Nashin Kodo. So there's an indication at the 8 letter list down. Skin of Linigi. Here had Guardia Asho and Lone Kodo. Deep in the be he had not need of this. And then he said, I don't know how young man is come. Sunday in Lily, he cannot start Arna some Kai Kini Nanigi. Behearted a beheart and like conquered big eitla. Couldn't ask for it to go by he needs him. It air she couldn't have son Lily had in la. It ashing could do. He need not or less, because he need not or less, or air she had that she been hodin ango hundat in his holders. A cocoa conquered our take answer that out of this dude. It ashing could do as not as art air could do and how east could do. In the ben hodin and it ashing could do obey. When the cargo be going to eat that. They had ended the Yadat A. But on the Hinson. The Yadat A. He been his antatil guard. Are the contour that A. But the Hoye had near conquered. How don't the Hastkinder? Don't the Hastkinder contest? With A. She come. Hassan Lini, his son Lini, Ton Lini. be do huneta put in his home his home she that a not lossy that a skinny nine kun some kai be in it a conquer that the she the bottom zone that kai abasa kun hit na and lean be late the whole toyan the year other conquer Hassan Bito no say dan set that a toba atten ar thota ta na zi go ta ataten thonda halt say but end shidin lini konkat o banana ini khato banana in khato Nissan lini dikat ko he ke chot za to le to na san linin hanna sun shot le it's ado ko nan set lini that nashi tak that is la dan skens da konkat ton lini titan le ut a thon na hidit a to na ado le ti pini bi it I see koto la so go ko banani ska bana ini ka kont a so conscious na and lini will ke honit in Hassan kai are condition lini are the scene hit new kodo council member response on this it's on ko kada sanane tle are ko binye sahalehi in gender bedit no bit of a kagit at toshihu only nanad need ado this bend has a o at so e kuyat eho hatsa do leskar hashinela but so zulzen to at achi a the konkat bana o kan akit in the guard konkat hot aided a which and seek his a which cho inil a which kon chahika a which kon yat eho kini na do les yat eho itas do les ni teno e a which na hitita to itas ka ko konka committee member response and then leaned it out on the staff at that e a the heshi komenan se yosen kon na be ko Washington hat nig had she be na da yosen bagan has ad ba chene hinane the ein lean did a shoot on san da kai could banan she da yosen but hot end shaba da hulyan to yat e ko the shade insen at e we could do to the lini nche bana is scandal ka ko dit e ko do to the zant is in the behasi to le he masan hitche fine to skriva da yan den da has khan if last saw that other country three branch government to the state the has khan speaker Damon President Nez Vice President Lizer Chief Justice but ko do to ibenil ni to le to benash ni to le God but she ko do ni asane sinigi ben kago na ko han nani han na os kandolish God in Jesus name amen. Chairman
Shehas Tilla Hatsadan Zeniki and Nachin Hinchikis Yat in Lego Yenedligin Bokoro Sani Cleadotion and Sago Shehe Hatsot Zeniki Shane Nana announcements. Also, we have Honorable Stewart on the line with us. Just for your information. Welcome.
Mr. Chair,
Okay. Honorable Daniels is also on the line for the record, as well as Honorable Stewart. Thank you. We're on announcements on the agenda. honorable members of RDC, do you have any announcements?
Chairman
Please, yes,
Freeland.
Honorable Freeland, go ahead, sir.
Chairman, good morning, colleagues, Resource Development Committee members, and members of the 24th Nomination Council. Good morning from Crown Point Eastern Agency. Chairman, I wanted to ask if we could do a moment of silence and pay some respects to two individuals that we lost yesterday. The first of all was Edison Bitsui, one of our esteemed professional cowboys and a true gentleman. And, acknowledgement to the Bitsui family this morning, his wife Ruth and his son Jeremiah, all the Bitsuis out there in Central Agency as well, and his brothers. We lost a true gentleman yesterday. Nana, from Standing Rock. Yesterday we lost one of my real nice, esteemed gentleman constituents. His name was Jerry Elwood. He was a Marine sergeant and a Korean War veteran. I had a chance to sit down and visit him during COVID, and I really admired this gentleman. Diego, and he always encouraged me and always encouraged us to do our best, Jonathan. And those were his lasting words when we parted last. Diego, and I really admired him. And there's individuals that you always come across that you draw yourself to, and you just want to listen to them talk. And he was one of those individuals. A lot of respect. And, I really want to say, to the Elwood family, we had our chapter meeting. We were scheduled for our chapter meeting this morning, but got postponed due to his loss. The Marine Corps, they always say Semper Fi. But when you go to his house, when you go to his residence, he has a Marine Corps welding sign outside his residence. You can't miss it. So, and then we also have Teresa, our staff. She lost her youngest daughter last week, and we don't know as a parent what that would feel like. I would hate to feel such a loss as a father. I would hate to feel that, and I don't know what that feels like, but I hope I don't have to feel that any day soon. And us as fathers, I wanted to ask for a moment of silence, but before I do that, Chair, I want to wish each and every one of you a happy Father's Day too. All of you, and I know that your fathers, Chairman, you just said you had some time with your family. I'm glad you did. Happy Father's Day to you and to all my colleagues on the 24th Nomination Council, and acknowledge that as Father's Day is coming up this week. So I look forward to our discussion today, and I look forward to our discussion the rest of this week. But if we could just have a moment of silence for those who have such huge loss this week. So I wanted to ask for that, Chairman, if we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Freeland, for having such a sincere heart to come forward with your announcements and a request for a moment of silence for Mr. Edison Bitsui, Mr. Elwood, and also our dear Ms. Woody's daughter, Koroshi. We will go ahead and have a moment of silence at this time. Oshin yada do nisto ado its nas. So please keep your phones on mute. So we'll have our moment of silence at this time. Thank you, colleagues, staff, and everybody on the line this morning for paying respects to 3 individuals and all those that have lost a loved one as well. Thank you, and certainly appreciate the prayer this morning by Honorable Begay. Committee members, do you have any other announcements? Ms. Begay, any announcements?
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. First of all, I would like to say thank you to Delegate Kealan Begay for providing a beautiful invocation for us this morning. And I also want to thank Mark Freeland for the acknowledgement so that we could have a moment of silence for the loved ones that, people have lost. Just to let you know that we had rescheduled our regular meeting to today so that we could accommodate RDC members that are going on travel to Colorado Ranch with Budget and Finance Committee. Your travel will begin tomorrow. And your return travel will probably be Saturday, and maybe some of you will return until Sunday. But on Monday, we have a leadership meeting with Navajo Nation Land Department, General Land Development Department, HPD, NTUA, BIA. Regarding, I also invited Division of Community Development. This is discussion surrounding the home site lease processes. I believe a week ago or 2 weeks ago, there was some discussion that occurred on the need to have some discussions on streamlining or waiving policies to accommodate Navajo families that are needing home site lease to get water line development and utility services to their home. So we'll have that discussion on Monday. Included in that discussion will be the general land, the one-stop shop, as well as there was a resolution that surfaced regarding the consent waiver of grazing permittees to accommodate the water line and right-of-ways. So that discussion will occur on Monday, and it will be at 9 o'clock. On the 22nd, on Tuesday, RDC will have a work session with Department of Fish and Wildlife on the climate change and the impacts thereof. Then on the 23rd, we have our regular meeting. And 24th, I believe Nabi has his meeting, the regular meeting. On the 25th, we have a leadership meeting at 9 o'clock with Eastern Navajo Land Board and tribal ranchers. So that's set for Friday. On the 28th, we have Division of Community Development work session, and that will be happening in Albuquerque. Division of Community Development will give me the location sometimes this next week, and that work session will be on the Vision of Community Development Plan of Operation. That's what I have, Chair. On Navajo Housing Authority, this is something that you may need to add to your agenda. Navajo Housing Authority has their proposed Indian housing plan coming through the process, and it will be presented to the board this Friday, or the 18th, I believe it is. they want a work session with RDC to go over that Indian housing plan. And the only open date that we have will be on June 29th. They have a timeline to submit that Indian housing plan. And by, excuse me, by mid-July. So just keep that in mind that we will need a work session with NHA on June 29th. Mr. Chair, back to you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Begay. Honorable members of RDC and staff, there is a Northern Agency Council meeting, which will be on teleconference this Saturday, starting at 9 o'clock for your information. And also, Ms. Begay and honorable members of RDC, Dr. Yellowman would like to have a work session for 2 days somewhere we can sit down and discuss safely according to the CDC rules. So it's requested to have this work session at Twin Arrows the end of the month, and perhaps June 28th and 29th, if, just a date out there. But we need to have this 2 days at Twin Arrows. I did discuss this with Mr. Brian Parrish, and he would more than likely be happy to host Twin Arrows for us meeting halls. So, are there any other announcements? Honorable members of RDC? None?
Chairman,
We'll go down.
Chairman.
Yes, Honorable Vice Chair Walker, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Chair, committee members and staff and our audience. Just a quick announcement, Western Navajo Agency Council is having their quarterly meeting this coming Saturday, 9 a.m. That'd be my announcement. I know Western Agency delegates provide reports to those meetings. I'm sure all agency council meetings have that on their agenda, delegates having reports. Western GG, just an announcement. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Walker. Any other announcements?
Chairman.
Honorable Freeland, go ahead.
Chairman, thank you. Good morning, colleagues. Thank you for that acknowledgement for that moment of silence, Chairman and my colleagues. I also wanted to ask on the agenda if we could include maybe when we get to the agenda portion, if we could include a follow-up meeting with the Water Rights Commission, DOJ's Water Rights Unit, as well as Water Management Branch. There's a lot that's beginning to happen, and I want to make sure that we are kept abreast of our follow-up conversation that we had with the Water Rights Commission, Utah Water Rights, or even Little Colorado River, other areas that we need to start paying attention to a little bit more and keep on top of. If I can ask that of the committee as well. And thank you to my brother, my older brother, Honorable Keelan Begay, as well for that prayer, brother. Definitely appreciate that and needed that this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Freeland. Any other announcements? None. We'll go down to number 2 on the agenda, recognizing guests and visiting officials. We'll have introductions for all, starting with RDC. Honorable Vice Chair Walker.
Thank you again, Chairman, committee members, staff, and our audience for today's RDC special meeting. I'll go introduction. Okay. adadil na Thomas Walker edition na adon ensinigi ishin he Schneider big patrol ni bashin what's on the issue cheda na tada excuse national ado Western Navajo Agency ado delegate in Chicago representing Coal Mine Canyon Cameron Luke Tulani Lake and Bird Springs chapters ide hadashinan do ikhe so there's indigi tliage ba he no de ko so ko she be nanil ni to be he dil ni ko kut ko so khat da dil no te en ke for justice hata ba kon do ni ne do ba yo ne ko kut ko na ke do lis do chinan do thank you for remembering our losses that loss of relatives, on our great homeland. Or that ne ita tanda di kasidin to ashin hota hodj to ashin khadi shishin kota dikha ko honni de konte channel ni to na banid ni to ba hota ni zin ko ban chairman and committee members. It's good to hear all your voices again. Da khan ki ta hoid land ashin ektadani tlonshin ko staff to do shwe to Teresa edo khan bedid ni hot ko chinanta ko natsashin yat nanish another did ni Knasani khato de ko ide hotela chair.
Thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Walker. I just want to say thank you very much for facilitating the RDC meetings last week. You did an excellent job, and I believe we do have a really good RDC team and appreciate all of you and very proud of you along with our staff. So, yeah, last and Honorable Stewart.
Oh, good morning, Shania. Do Shania Ka. Do Shayaja. Do Shmayaja Ka. Shaya Wilson, C. Stewart Jr. A and Shia. Do Kodo Toda Ist and Do Kodo Beshmas Anenshla. Tell do back Hal She, Twins the Don Hijid. Dion Sanelo, a Batkadasha. Aro Kodo RDC, so at Hanshland for Defiance Agency. Aro Yashna, so it's a Vincent and Bendan, Do Shana, so Mark Nana, so. For recognizing and asking for a moment of silence for Mr. Bitsui, and his family and his siblings, his parents. And he did contribute a lot to the sport of Indian rodeo, not only in competing in the arena, but also as a mentor and as a coach for a long time through Diné College. A lot of the, like Ed Holyan and Wally Dennison, Norman Bates had him as a coach during that time. And he was very well known in that arena as well. He also founded the IIFR, which was in existence for a while. And he was a major contributor to the sport of Indian rodeo. Thinking about that and the years growing up in the arena, around the arena, watching him and listening to him speak as well. He's also the one that refounded the AIRCA and brought it back as well after 50 years. So we did lose an extraordinary man, but he went on to be a part of Indian rodeo up in the next world as well. So thank you for that. Also, it's not Angie this morning being with us today as we discuss our RDC meeting today in exchange for tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Stewart. Honorable Daniels.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, Adonana Kodo, Edge Kodota, Herman Daniels Jr. Shishi, Adonana, Adonans, let me give it to me. It's a chain, that's it. We get Lenny Donana, not kite and egg, that's it. Ado, Asko, that is that's been a lot. I mentioned that Panash Nashiki Egan, not on or jet ho. Shot ho, I don't that topic can a Panash. What I did there, $3 out of Nana, but I should say, I see by case, never don't put them. Saying the Hoda is even that's it. I need $3 each. I don't see that card was I think $8 but that. Mr. Chair, I'm still there. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Daniels. Honorable Freeland. Honorable Freeland. Honorable Kealan Begay.
Chairman, good morning, Nana, RDC members. Kadosh Edge, Skano Senegi, that's the Sagi, Hanaran hit National Key Ani, that's a but only that's a chair, other this cheat, that's another. 5 chapters that I represent from the Central Agency, Low Mountain, Sachibugat, Salani, Canwood, Noslini, and Mini Farms. Ecuador, Sanda Atleki, but Hadasha. A call with us in Ecuador, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Begay. Honorable Freeland.
Chairman, good morning.
Go ahead.
I lost service there for a moment, so should Mark Freeland the share of the Finny Tots on showed up here on his Sanji King the Che. I don't tell about the edition of the Kongi, it's also Kali in the Shire. Represent chap here in Eastern. I have Crown Point, Nahajashkish, Sehe to the west, out of north, the have Vicente, where I'm actually headed to Vicente right now, and then Lake Valley and White Rock, and then Herfino, and I use it to the north, Ainama. Good morning to one and all, and let's have a good meeting and good discussion, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Freeland. We'll go to our RDC staff, Ms. Begay.
Good morning, Chair, and good morning to everyone that are on the call and also the RDC members. Yat A. Benem. Ado Shaya Shami Begayin Shiedo Lay Office Stanley Ashna. Now, Kadinan saw the petition, but she's saying to buy a dash touching a dash nala die, Sanan. So, yeah, Mr. Chair, back to you.
Thank you. Ms. Woody.
Good morning. This is Heather Springer. I'm covering for Teresa Woody for today. I am a legislative assistant with the Office of Legislative Services. I covered for Teresa Woody last week also. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Springer. Ms. Khan.
Good morning. Daneshik Resources and Development Committee members, the Nofiniki Ado, Navajo Nation Council delegates, Astota Nofiniki, Shea Mariana Khan, the Shijin. For this Adan Asha. Don't and a Shinigi a Tohi Glini, but Ahni Bushish Chin, last Che Dashiche, Sanjikin Dashanella. Bijan Tavahotana Dan Nihich and Beshbe Hashna. Good morning, one and all. Ado, Ahehet and Tago, for that beautiful, beautiful prayer, very helpful prayer to start us off with. Mr. Chair, I will go on mute now.
Thank you, Ms. Khan, for that. We also have honorable members of the 24th Navajo Nation Council on the call with us this morning. Let me go to Honorable Paul Begay.
Good morning, Chair, Honorable Chair Ricky Ness, the members of the Resource and Development Committee. The colleagues don't want to sound redundant, but I really do appreciate the prayers of Che Njungya. Every day we come to a point where we don't know which way to turn to or who to turn to. So we turn to a higher power. So there's an ECB need to have Paul Begay Dashijin. Ado to now console Aden Hin Hol Ado be not Apanasha. Chi do Bishop Gates and upon Sabatin quite me to Ado Ton Headley. Tedish given the net inch. She be Tony, the Netherlands. Ado Toricini the Shikia on national deputation. Cotego the Nench call here. Although I would like to thank Honorable Chair Ricky Nez for the great testimony he gave this morning. Since on that Interior Energy Subcommittee hearings, call here about here, some don't hit the net or Nikaya Hananin Zido here. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Begay. Honorable Otto.
Good morning, Chairman, and all members of the Resources and Development Committee. Honorable members of the Navajo Nation Council, who is on the line. Our staff from the Navajo Nation Legislative Branch. Thank you for being on the line. Shay Auto Soda. Na kaid na toyet lenin shne nan as khapa habashin look at neda che do tsena jini idashinan da in I don't serve on the standing committee of the Law and Order Committee and appreciate the time to be recognized here. Cat, you're on mute.
Thank you, Honorable So. Honorable Vice Chair Raymond Smith Jr. Honorable Vice Chair Raymond Smith Jr.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. This is Vice Chair Raymond Smith, Resource Development Committee of the 24th Navajo Nation Council. Honorable Wilson Stewart, Honorable Vice Chair Thomas Walker, Honorable Herman Daniels, and Honorable Mark Freeland, also Honorable Key Allen for the prayer this morning. Thank you. Introduction, and I'm Raymond Smith Jr. I represent Upton, Hauk, White Ruins, Tagato, Nadadzi, Deninchlingia, Yaha, the Bessagen. Kitlichin, Bashichin, Honora, Nidashichedo, Nakai, Dashanana, Oda, Atos, St. Long, Helash, and thank you.
Yeah, Honorable Vice Chair Smith. Any other honorable members of the 24th Council on the line? None. She recognizing she was son slow, they touching, Bashish chain, son publishing that should say, Arokia, Ani, Dashan, Nalata, and Enchlas, Congo chapters, Wanash, Nishige, Tzedek, on San Juan, and Nzar, Upper Frugal, and Burnham and Newcomb. Welcome, everybody. We also have from Speaker's Office, Ms. Yako.
Good morning, Chairman. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, Chairman Nez and members of the Resources and Development Committee. My name is Melinda Arbiso Siako. Ado Hiahat and Skago Shanai Delegate Kialan Begay to the Zanigi Behind do Benachia she Beho Alto Leko. Thank you very much. A legislative staff assistant for Speaker Damon here in Window Rock, Arizona. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Yako. We also have from BIA, Ms. Cheryl Curley. Ms.
Yeah.
Curley?
Good morning, Yat Bennett, Cheryl Curley, BIA, Navajo Region Tribal Operations Specialist Liaison. Good morning to RDC members and committee, Ms. Gay, other council delegates on the line, everyone on the call. Good morning. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other BIA members, staff on the line?
Chairman Nez, I don't believe so, but any information requested of BIA, I will relay the message, and if we need a line officer on the call, I will inform them. Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Curley. Department of Justice. Office of the President, Vice President.
Good morning, Chair, members of the Resource and Development Committee. This is Phil Foot from OPVP. Have a good day.
Thank you. DNR, Division of Natural Resources. Anybody else on the line?
Can you hear
Go
me?
ahead. Yes, go ahead.
Oh, this is Veronica Blackett with Navajo Nation Department of Justice. I tried to unmute myself, but I don't know what I did. So I'll be listening in. Good morning, everyone. I believe I may have other staff listening in as well, but I don't know if they're listening in at the moment. Yeah, so I'll be listening in. Twabajna Ajin Twade Lini Bashichin. I'm originally from Newcomb, and again, just want to say good morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Blackhat. Anybody else on the call? From divisions, departments?
Good morning, Chairman. This is April Quinn from DOJ's Natural Resources Unit. Like Veronica, I couldn't get off of mute fast enough. Good morning.
Thank you, Ms. Quinn. Welcome. Anybody else on the call?
Good morning, Chair Nez, Division of Community Development. We're listening in. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Yellowman. Anybody else? None? We'll go to number 3 on the agenda. Ms. Begay, could you read the agenda, please?
Mr. Chair and members of the Resource Development Committee. Resource Development Committee of the 24th Navajo Nation Council teleconferencing RDC special meeting in lieu of 6/16/21 scheduled meeting. June 15, 2021, 10 a.m. agenda. Presiding Ricky Nash, Chairperson, Thomas Walker Jr., Vice Chairperson. 1, calling meeting to order, roll call, invocation, announcements. 2, recognizing guests and visiting official. 3, reviewing and approving the agenda. 4, reviewing and approving the journals, none. 5, receiving report. A, report on the healing opportunity and context of operating agreement. Presenters will be James McClure, CEO from Navajo Oil and Gas Company and others. 6, old business, none. 7, new business. A, legislation 008921. This is legislation and action relating to a change in resolution CAP 3518 for Klagetoh chapter. Prime sponsors, Honorable Raymond Smith Jr. B, legislation 009121. It's an action relating to allocating $2 million in CSN funds to the Canancy-Tobanum Navajo Health Center Incorporated. Prime sponsor is James Pinyo. C, legislation 0092-21. It's an action relating to approving a change in CAP 3518 for Sayatwa chapter. Prime sponsor is Honorable Seth Damon. 8, conclusion of committee meeting, other announcement, adjournment. Mr. Chair and members of the committee.
Thank you, Ms. Gay. Honorable members of RDC, let's establish a motion and a second.
Chairman, I'll motion Freeland.
Honorable Freeland,
Second,
thank
Key
you.
Allen.
Thank you, Honorable Begay, for that. If you have this is for the main motion. There are 4 requests for leadership meetings. So under new business, there will be D, RDC leadership meeting with NHA leadership. E, RDC leadership meeting with the Net Chamber of Commerce. F, RDC and DCD for 2 days. G, Department of Justice Water Rights Unit, as well as the Water Rights Commission follow-up meeting. Would like to establish a motion and a second for Amendment 1.
Chairman, I'll motion Freeland.
Honorable Freeland, thank you. Second by? Is there a second?
Chairman, I'll second.
Thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Walker. Are there any questions on Amendment 1, additions or deletions?
Shania, Chair, I have a addition, please.
Honorable Stewart, go ahead.
Shania and staff, I have a addition to request through the Division of Community Development and Natural Resource, an update on the AIF funding. We have been discussing that lately on the side between Dr. Yellman and myself, and then yesterday it came up in the Fort Defiance Agency chapters staff meeting. And so I want to get an update on that one. Shania, the RDC members, to see what the status is on it so far. And I did an email, but I only got response back from Dr. Yellman last week. Shania, Shania.
Honorable Stewart, are you requesting to add a report to the agenda?
Oh, Shania, just a report and update from them, please.
Hello?
Honorable Freeland, do you concur to add DCD, DNR? Honorable Freeland?
Abiga.
Okay. Honorable Vice Chair Walker?
Yes, I concur.
Okay, thank you. And any other amendments, comments, or questions on Amendment 1? None? Kakushila? We'll go ahead and have a roll call vote. Ms. Begay? Let me just do that. Honorable Freeland, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Stewart?
Green, Shania.
Honorable Begay?
Chairman Gill, what's green?
Honorable Vice Chair Walker?
Chairman, I vote green.
Honorable Daniels? Honorable Daniels? We have a vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed. Chair not voting. Motion carries for Amendment 1. Back to the main motion. Any other comments or questions? None? Hakushila will put the agenda to vote. Honorable Freeland? How do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Stewart?
Green.
Honorable Begay?
Chairman Kale with screen. Thank you.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker?
I vote green.
Honorable Daniels? Honorable Daniels? We have a vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting, motion carries. We approve the agenda with a few additions. Number 4 on the agenda, reviewing and approving journals, none. We're down to number 5, receiving reports. A, report helium opportunity and context of operating agreement. Mr. James McClure will be the presenter, CEO of Navajo Nation Oil and Gas Company and others. Mr. McClure, you have the floor. 20 minutes, sir.
Thank you, Chairman Nez. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, great. I'm calling you today from our running horse pipeline operation in Montezuma Creek. Lovely day out here. And just want to thank you, Chairman, and the members of RDC for the time today, and also other council members who have joined for this presentation. I've sent a slide presentation deck. I'm assuming that all the RDC members have a copy of that. Is that correct?
Mr. McClure, they should.
Yes, sir.
I emailed it out this morning, Mr. Chair.
Yes, we do.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Then I'll try to mention each slide as I move forward. So I'm going to start with slide number 2. And really, maybe before I do that, just want to set some context about the purpose for my presentation today. I know in previous RDC meetings, we've had a conversation about ensuring that RDC was well informed about potential actions that would come in front of this committee in the future. Navajo Nation Oil and Gas has been working with the Minerals Department and the Department of Justice, specifically Ms. Quinn, who's on the call today, on some operating agreements for helium development and exploration. And those agreements have concluded. We've now finalized the wording of those operating agreements. We are in the process of concluding our environmental impact assessment work. We're hopeful that will be finished this week. And once concluded, there will be 3 operating agreements that will then process through the 164 process, so that ultimately will reach RDC for review. And I'll be in front of you at that time to answer any questions and go through any more specifics that you might want to do. But what I was hopeful to cover today was really just provide some context about these agreements, so that when they navigate through the 164 process, there'll be no surprises. So that's really my intent for the conversation today. Slide number 2 is a highlight of some material that I've presented to the RDC in the past. This is to inform you about the work that Navajo Nation Oil and Gas has been pursuing over the last year. We've identified 37 helium prospects on the Navajo Nation, and this model here, this graph, is actually only a model of 15 of those projects. So it's the 15 top projects in our portfolio. And what we are trying to indicate here is the potential revenue sources for the Navajo Nation if we're successful with our helium exploration growth effort. The curves in yellow depict an assumption around helium price of $175 per 1,000 cubic feet, a 1 rig scenario And we're comparing that to the existing base scenario, which is really the ANIF revenue stream that the Navajo Nation receives through royalties. The difference in these curves, when you look out at in time, and specifically in year 2030, is a difference of almost $250 million. So our view is over the next 10 years that if we're successful in our helium growth strategy and are successful in developing these 15 projects of the 37, it's $250 million of potential revenue influx to the Navajo Nation. And again, this is assuming a helium price of $175. We have seen even recently much higher helium prices than that. And so once we get into actual sales of helium, we'll hopefully have a better sense of what pricing we can achieve. Slide number 3 really is something you've seen before from Navajo Nation Oil and Gas. It just highlights what is the use of helium. And there's a number of uses that support different businesses and different populations in the general public. I think the two most relevant, or maybe the largest uses, are in MRI technology and the medical field, and then in the semiconductor space to provide non-reactive atmospheres and coolant. Slide number 4 breaks this down into a kind of percentage of which industries use helium. Over the last number of years, there's been a significant drop-off in the supply of helium globally and a significant increase in the demand of helium globally. The forces then, economic forces of demand increasing and supply decreasing, has caused the helium prices to move where the industry now sees it economic to develop. And that's why Navajo Nation Oil and Gas has pursued an effort to quantify the amount of helium on the Navajo Nation. Slide number 5 is just really a kind of a surface map to highlight where our efforts are focused initially. You see in southeastern Utah is the Anna field, the Tohodnadla field, and the Desert Creek field. These are oil fields that Navajo Nation Oil and Gas is partnered in, and royalties from these fields are currently supporting revenues for the Navajo Nation. The Tohatchi Wash area is where there is a well called the Z well, which has been referenced many times in front of RDC as having significant helium potential. 7 to 8% of the gas stream is helium. As we look to the south, we have identified some other prospects that I want to talk about today, which are the Beautiful Mountain prospect and the Porcupine Dome prospect. So those 3 areas, Tohatchi Wash, Beautiful Mountain, and Porcupine Dome, Navajo Nation Oil and Gas approached the Minerals Department in August of last year with a proposal for a lease or operating agreement terms that ultimately would allow NOG to pursue development. What's resulted in our conversations with Minerals and with the Department of Justice can be seen, the highlights can be seen on slide 6, which are some of the terms that are now included: a primary term of 10 years, and then a secondary term which allows NOG to properly develop the area. The bonus, delay rentals, and annual rentals are also depicted here. Oil and gas royalty rates and then helium rates are also identified. So this is assumed to be primarily a helium development. We do not expect to be selling oil or gas from this, but that's our existing knowledge of these 3 areas, and we'll learn more as we start to develop and explore. Also, just to highlight, there is an item for a payment in lieu of tax, acronym PILT, and then also contributions that Navajo Nation Oil and Gas will make to a scholarship fund for activities in these areas. I think the key message here is that we've worked closely with minerals to look at kind of where the industry is with respect to royalty rates, PILT, and various items like scholarships and bonuses and so forth, and ultimately have come up with this operating agreement proposal that will again navigate the 164 process for review by RDC and then the full council. Slide number 7, slide number 8, and slide number 9 are 3 geologic kind of summaries, activity summaries, and then a surface map of the structure that NOG will be pursuing. So the first is the Tohatchee Wash area. Again, the Z well is located on here. What the intent of our activity would be is that the Z well would be the first well that we would turn on to production. Our hope would be that after signing these operating agreements, that we could move on and by late 2021 be able to turn the Z well to production. And then we would look to shoot seismic and ultimately develop additional prospects that we've identified. You see depicted on this graph on slide 7. Now, I know a few weeks ago there was an individual from a company called Paradox Resources, and Mr. Todd Brooks, who presented in front of RDC one option that NOG is considering about how we could market our helium, and that is to ultimately take the gas via pipeline to the Lisbon gas plant in southern Utah. That is one option that we're considering. We're also looking at a standalone facility in the Tohatchee Wash area. And ultimately, we'll have to make an economic decision on what's the most prudent for us to develop. But again, this will be our first activity. Our hope is to have production on later this year, and then we'll drill additional wells in 2022. The next 2 slides, slide 8 and 9, are a region kind of coupled together, the beautiful mountain field and the Porcupine Dome exploration project. The beautiful mountain area, which is slide 9, is an existing area that has had historical oil and helium production back a number of years ago before helium prices were actually economic. So what we feel, we have high confidence in the beautiful mountain region. Again, that's shown on slide 9. And our initial steps there will be to shoot seismic and then identify where to drill wells. There's the potential of drilling up to 27 wells in this region. The Porcupine Dome area is a bit more exploratory. So I'd say more risky as you move away from Beautiful Mountain, which has a large number of wells already in place, which provides significant data for us to be able to evaluate the subsurface. Porcupine Dome, on the other hand, only has one existing well, and we recently shot seismic there back in April, so that ultimately it's helped us identify some of these geologic prospects. Again, these maps are structure maps, and what we want to do is shoot seismic, additional two-dimensional seismic, which helps us to better quantify the location and ultimately be able to pick locations that we might want to drill. So these 3 areas, again, Tohatchee Wash, Porcupine Dome, and Beautiful Mountain, the activity schedule is again, production beginning in late 2021, seismic that would kick off in late 2021, that would then culminate in new wells being drilled in 2022 and then beyond, depending on our success. The remaining prospects that I mentioned earlier, again, 37 in total, will continue to work with minerals as we learn more about the helium prospects for production. And then we will want to create new operating agreements with minerals and with the Navajo Nation that ultimately allows for additional exploration. So that's all the information that I had planned to show today. I just wanted to make sure that the RDC was aware that this was coming. Again, our hope is that we will complete the environmental impact assessments on the Porcupine Dome field this week. That then will allow us to put all 3 operating agreements forward into the 164 process. And we will work with the council and with RDC to move those through the review process and ultimately have a conversation again, hopefully in a few weeks, with RDC that then could reach for a vote then with the full council following. So with that, I just want to open up if there's any questions that anybody might have. I'm more than willing to try to answer.
Thank you, Mr. McClure, for your report to RDC. Honorable members of RDC, I'd like to establish a motion and a second. Motion.
Motion, Stewart.
Honorable Stewart, thank you. Second by? Is there a second?
Chairman, I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, appreciate that. Are there any comments or questions for Mr. McClure? Naidos Kidis Nanta. I don't hear any, so we thank you, Mr. McClure. Certainly appreciate your presentation on the context of the operating agreement. And we will certainly study the PowerPoint that you sent us. And we look forward to continue our support for Navajo Nation oil and gas. Thank you very much, Mr. McClure.
Thank you, Chairman Nez. Have a good day.
Yes, sure. Honorable members of RDC will accept the report. Honorable Freeland, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Stewart.
Green.
Begay.
Chairman Calvert's green. Thank you.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker.
Chair, I vote green.
Honorable Daniels. Honorable Daniels. We have a vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed. Chair not voting. Motion carries. Down to old business, none. Number 7, new business. A, legislation 0089-21, sponsor Honorable Raymond Smith Jr. Vice Chair Smith, are you on the call with us still?
Yes, sir. I'm still on the call. As a matter of fact,
Thank
I think I have the Colegato chapter president with me, Leland Nez, too, Chair.
Okay. Thank you. Ms. Begay, could you read this into the record, please? Ms.
Hello?
Begay?
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Mr. Chair, members of the committee, you have legislative summary sheet tracking number 0089-21. The date on it is June 3rd, 2021. It's an action relating to Resource Development and Budget and Finance Committee approving a change in resolution CAP 3518 for Colegato chapter by deleting the Head Start project and adding metal storage building, dedicated internet access and power line extension project. You will see that this legislation is assigned to both Resource Development and Budget and Finance, and prime sponsor is Delegate Raymond Smith Jr. when this legislation reaches Budget and Finance Committee, it will be read fully into the record. As I indicated, it's just a change in the Council Resolution CAP 3518 for Klagetoh chapter. All of the exhibits that are referenced in the content of the legislation, those exhibits are attached to the packet, and the budget forms and all the necessary information are attached. You will note that the packet was posted on the council website on June 4th, 2021. And the 5-day comment period ended on June 9th, 2021. At that time, there was no comments received, Mr. Chair, and there's still no comments in support or opposing or recommending the packet. Mr. Chair, members of the committee, back to you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Begay. Honorable members of RDC, let's establish a motion and a second. Motion.
Motion. Good.
Honorable
Chairman, I
Stewart.
second that.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker, thank you very much. Honorable Vice Chair Smith, you have 20 minutes, sir. Could you identify your agent as well?
Hagushi, I had not Chairman Nez for allowing this legislation to be heard this morning regarding the CAP 35-18, legislation number 0089-21. I think the chapter president of Klagetoh is here this morning with us. I haven't heard, but I'm sure he's listening in. I invited him during a planning meeting here Sunday, and his name is Leland Nez. And I don't know if he's on call. Mr. Leland Nez, chapter president, are you on call?
Mr. Nez, are you on the call? Press star 6 to unmute. I believe not. Vice Chair Smith, you may proceed.
Thank you. And members of the Resource Development Committee, good morning again. And thank you for that prayer, and thank you for allowing this legislation to be heard as the first step for Resource and Development Committee. As you well know, this legislation was adopted back in the 23rd Navajo Nation Council. It's resolution number CAP-35-18. At that time, the leadership of Klagetoh had
Honorable Vice Chair Walker, could you pause one moment? All those listening in, please put your phones on mute. Thank you. You may proceed, Vice Chair Smith.
Thank you. As I was saying, CAP 35-18 was sponsored and passed by the Navajo Nation Council and signed in by the former president of Navajo Nation, Russell Begay. Under the CAP 35, Klagetoh had allocated $400,000 for a Head Start, and the Head Start was a thing that Klagetoh would like to see happen. However, we did speak with Klagetoh Head Start, or the Navajo Nation Head Start, and they did a census out there. They said there's not enough Chineja to facilitate the Head Start. The current Head Start building we have right now is an old BIA Quonset hut, and it's not being used as we speak right now. So as time went on, we got that information, and we try to continue to push the $400,000 for a Head Start project, and we almost got it off the ground, but with new leadership coming in and seeing this $400,000, it was reverted to changing it to a metal storage building and a dedicated internet access that we need, and power line extension within the Klagetoh. And there is a resolution, Exhibit 2. It's KLA-2114-03/2021. 121, which was signed by the chapter president of Tlagato, Leland Nez, on March 28, 2021 of this year. And Exhibit D, it explains under the CAP 35-18, it does have under number 141, which is in Exhibit D under the CAP 35-18, it has Head Start as project number 141 at the amount of $400,000. And now it's an Exhibit 1 with this legislation in front of RDC. And in there it has it broken down. Number 1 is the metal storage building, design, construction and equipment at a price tag of $118,684. Number 2 is the dedicated internet access, which we need out there. We don't have good access to internet, and that would be one of the projects that we'd like to fund, and at the amount of $96,800. And the third one is the power line extension. Families out there need electricity, and that amount is $184,516 with a total amount of $400,000 for the change. Exhibit 2, like I said, was the resolution signed by the president of the Tlagato chapter, and the people did endorse this, and they had attended the meeting by teleconference, and they're akodana to change the amount to these 3 projects that Tlagato is looking forward to. Exhibit 3 is the Citizen Project Amendment Certification, and I signed that of May 6, 2021 to delete the Head Start and to include 1, 2, 3 projects with the $400,000 for the Tlagato community. So with that, Chair, it's basically just a change on CAP 35-18, and we're not exceeding the amount that was given to each delegate, and this amount is within the resolution that was under CAP 35-18. As you well know, this is from the citizen funding, and we're not exceeding the $4,166,666.67 that was allocated under this resolution. So within that, Tlagato was provided $400,000, and we will be utilizing this money for those 3 projects mentioned. So, hey, I don't know if the chapter president is on, or if he got back, if he's on mute, or if he's there. But if he is, maybe he can speak a little about this and introduce himself. And he's been newly elected for the next 4 years with the Tlagato chapter, and would like to maybe give him some time if possible. If not, if he's not available, then I'm open up for questions on this, Shananda. So I would really appreciate the Honorable Resource Development Committee of the 24th Navajo Nation Council to endorse this and move it forward to the Budget and Finance Committee. Budget and Finance Committee is the final authority so that we can start pushing these projects along. Of course, we are now in the yellow zone of the health orders, and things are starting to move a little more, and we're still recognizing that COVID-19 is still out there. But we're maintaining that safety zone of 6 feet and washing our hands and wearing our masks and working with the C8 community development with Dr. Yellman on these things and pushing us along. So I don't know if Mr. Leland is on. Mr. Leland Nez, the chapter president, is on. Chair Nez, thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Smith. Chapter President Nez, are you on the call, sir? Attend. Honorable members of RDC.
I'm here.
This is Leland.
Go ahead.
Okay, so yeah, oh, 20 minutes they have now. So I don't know how much time we have to address ourselves for the local community here. Anyways, I'm Leland Naz. I'm the chapter president, and did that 400,000. I see that ni chido is juda ni tan he kudo le to ni has ado in the yat the na I see ha the job an stone ado in the high end J resolution ye lastly a co did that on a way de ya jo e pohon ado din in here ne pinigi ya I see that today deal is based didn't need a very land is that heavy equipment to get a chapter to this over lot as Lee a core heavy equipment to get land hate and la hat a la Baz Ado Leshadadi no when a did it metal storage building a Kahatahilia Ado Kat he coordinator that I see on Hyenas Lee base about or the hinge of a cadahilia. I don't know internet access. Look at that fanat laid or a donza tower ada cellular one tower. A co a bit sado a internet a load only that he no a by 80. A cord I see a Nelke Tinigi. Just Kane Lenigi, I don't know that net Dal Nishiki, I don't know in the cellular phone, they jive that I see Ego, AIH, Idon, Short or Ebanit, and the Kohado Honda Latana, even not a Doban Sarkis, though I see the Bazanda, Hashin Zaha, a connect on the store, Benek, in the bars, and even in Nago, I see. Quite in hearty, quite I see a Nicato was the Nano, or even a neat kid. What I don't know, the power line extension east or a ni what so that's so sheet at the Sandatli ho. Need an a basic chi yaiten. The Codin he could you what I say toward the deacon away could you go the kitchen buggy late holy I can have the what are a bit in each. Go Arjun hidden as like Kate hat. So that I seen the job and Arjun even RG that I see Bisoiba Babachi deal is. Aronana towards the southern area, towards wide ruins, Arjun Kate hat. So what are in the job Bada no co what a party Ninhalanco. What are in the Neo and heart is Kedat. It's a cabbage and has the health issues with the Halojo, test it over Hajo, Nisha, even I what I by Nietzsche, the what I see Neo, the Shin's heart or a Sandat, Leo Biso or. But either I didn't hasha illa. Even in we wanted to make use of this $400,000 like that for these 3 projects for our community people. So go that Resource Development Committee in Sinigi Chinanta Joanna Bishmas Ananasido Benasha but Andas in the lady don Hanpenopi. Accord Ashin Neo every chapter a job by in consider DJ job party Nako Haban Kisto Listo I ask we want to see progress in each community. So hit it out on see case as a Clagato community. What that and I'm here with our chapter secretary, and then our coordinator here is listening into a Siladoi. I don't know if he wants to say anything in support of this legislation. Coalition potato lehon so ya as a chapter president.
Thank you, Mr. Mills. Honorable Vice Chair Smith.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for letting us present this legislation to the Honorable Resource Development Committee of the Navajo Nation. Also, Dr. Yellowman is in support of this change on behalf of the request that was made by the chapter president. And I thank you again. So, to further ado, I'll turn the floor back over to you, Chairman. Yes.
Okay, you still have 6 minutes, Vice Chair Smith. I don't know if you want your chapter manager or one of the officials to speak, sir.
Thank you for letting us have that additional time, or giving me the time that we have allowed. Yes, I'd like to have the chapter's officials that are listening in speak on behalf of this and a little introduction of who they are to Shananda.
Okay, go ahead, Chapter Vice President.
It's just Maureen. That's the secretary here for the chapter.
Go ahead. Identify yourself.
Are you going to?
Yate, Shananta Danosini, Shaya Maureen Whitman, that's Junior. Ado Akodanashe, Toro. Ado, I've known about Boggy Lake area utility power line extension. I'd like to express a little bit more on it. I was the former community service coordinator here for several years. And we have been trying to get to this area for many years. And there's quite a few people living down in that area. And it's kind of like in a shared area with the other chapters, what we would call chapter service area. We would really like to have that funding approved for us so we can get this infrastructure done and completed in that area. We're just about done with our infrastructures in our community, and we would like for you guys to approve this power line that we presented to you under the 400,000, and then also Head Start Center. Mr. Smith. Ayo ayan kushina khai budget na han ago yo khoi de shi renovate in delia ko binina aya on kholia do where you don't have any enrollment in staffing. That's why it was closed down completely. Ko a binina a that del khala ko na smil akonde na na kuje any tractors to the hybrid, no ADA stop but so I saw the inca non koshka for the ayan have lots of heel the hayat a so late could have said to the kid that need any and so had this quit
it. Honorable members of RDC, do you have any comments or questions on legislation 0089-21? This legislation will move on to Budget and Finance Committee. So any comments, questions? None. Hakushila, we'll put it to a vote. Honorable Freeland, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Stewart?
Green.
Honorable Begay?
Chairman Kale with green.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker? Honorable Daniels? Honorable Vice Chair Walker.
I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Daniels.
Mr. Chair, I vote green.
Thank you. We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed. Chair not voting. Motion carries. Honorable Vice Chair Smith.
Yeah, Donald and RDC committee members of the council. So then we'll be happy to report this back to the chapter. And we appreciate your help, and God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Smith. Please keep your phones on mute, everybody. Thank you. Shananda, I overlooked the last report that was requested by Honorable Stewart under reports, an update report on chapters allocation and AIF funding. Shananda, we can complete new business and go back to reports. It was, I apologize, it was on my part there. So thank you. Honorable Henio, are you on the call, sir? Honorable Damon, Speaker Damon, are you on the call? Honorable Chairman Henio, are you on the call?
Chairman, this is Melinda. We're getting Speaker Damon on the call, sir.
Okay. Sananta, we'll go to C, legislation 0092-21.
Chairman?
Yes.
If I'm in order, maybe I could co-sponsor Henios and speakers if they're needed. I don't mind.
I believe Honorable Speaker Damon is going to get on the call, and Honorable Henio, you could, if you're there in Window Rock, and you can sign the documents.
I'm actually in Vicente right now, but I could run to Window Rock later.
Okay. That's fine if you do that. We just need you to sign off on it if they don't show up.
Okay.
But,
let me
go.
I'm sorry, Chairman. I know BNF is in session. That's why. Let me text Chairman Henio.
Okay. Honorable Speaker Damon, are you on the call, sir?
Chairman, he's dialing in the call right now. Just a few seconds.
Okay. We'll go ahead and wait for him. And if somebody would contact Honorable Chairman Henio, he will be next after Honorable Speaker Damon's legislation. Honorable Speaker Damon, are you on the call? Press *6 to unmute.
Chairman Nez, this
Yes.
is Melinda. Actually, Speaker's other call has run over time on their end as well. So he is open if Delegate Freeland would still like to co-sponsor.
Who's going to co-sponsor?
If Delegate Freeland still wants to co-sponsor, that would be okay for Speaker Damon.
Okay.
Mr.
I
Chair,
believe only if he's there to sign the documents. Ms. Begay, go ahead.
Mr. Chair and members of the committee, if we could get one of the RDC that is members that are in the area, in the local area, to sign off on the document, that way we don't have to wait for Mark to drive in from Vicente, because that's like another almost an hour drive. So if we could get someone from the delegate from the local area to sign off on it, then that would work. Otherwise, we could just defer the legislation to the next meeting.
Okay, thank you for that. Honorable Freeland.
Chairman, yeah, Shemai Yikshi making perfect sense on this, and I am an hour out. I guess we could just defer them if that's okay. And I'd be willing to, but I'd have to drive in to sign the documents, which I can do. I do have another chapter meeting after this in Crown Point, so I wouldn't be there till like around 4 or 5. Thank you.
Okay. Honorable Stewart, are you in the area?
Yes, I was just gonna say that I can go over there and sign it. Yes.
Okay. While you do that, Honorable Stewart, we'll we'll schedule the other meetings and let us know when you arrive there and sign as a co-sponsor for these 2 legislations. Honorable Stewart.
Biga, I will do that then. Okay.
Thank you.
Chairman.
Yes.
I would like to have Honorable Stewart as an honorary Eastern delegate. Thank you.
Okay. What is the purpose?
Since he's signing off on 2 legislations that pertain to Eastern Agency.
Okay.
Just a little humor. Yeah. Thank you, brother.
That's good.
No problem.
Honorable members of RDC, will go down to D on new business. Approving a meeting with NHA regarding the Indian Housing Plan, IHP, recommended date, Ms. Begay. Ms. Begay?
Mr. Chair,
We're on.
members of the committee, since we're looking at June 29th to add another day for DCDC work session, we will need to schedule NHA in July. And I have open right now, July 9th.
Okay. Since we haven't scheduled much in July, we'll go ahead with July 9th, 2021 at 9:00 a.m. And this is a leadership meeting, correct, Ms. Begay?
Mr. Chair, yes, it is. And it's just basically for NHA to provide an overview of their Indian housing plan, which will be initiated in the legislative process for RDC's support, and thereafter will be submitted to DC. Mr. Chair, members of the committee, I believe we did the same process last year. We had a work session with the NHA board, and the interim CEO presented the Indian housing plan to RDC, and then we did a support resolution and they submitted it to DC. And it'll be the same process we'll be working with.
Thank you, Ms. Begay. We're on D. Honorable members of RDC would like to establish a motion and a second.
Chairman Keller.
Thank you. Second by?
Freeland.
Honorable Freeland. Thank you. Honorable members of RDC, their recommended date is July 9th at 9:00 a.m. with NHA. So July 9th is on a Friday. Any comments or questions? None. Honorable Freeland, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Stewart?
Green.
Honorable Begay?
Kiel votes green, Chair. Thank you.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker?
I vote green.
Honorable Daniels? Honorable Daniels?
I vote green.
Thank you. We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting, motion carries. We're on E, approving a leadership meeting with the Net Chamber of Commerce. Ms. Begay, do you have any dates available?
Mr. Chair, I have July 6th or July 12th open.
We'll go with the earliest date, which will be July 6th at 9 o'clock. Honorable members of RDC, let's establish a motion and a second. Motion.
Freeland.
Honorable Freeland, thank you. Second by
Keown.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? This will be scheduled for July 6th, Tuesday at 9 o'clock. None? Honorable Freeland, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Stewart?
Green.
Honorable Begay?
Chairman Keown votes green. Thank you.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker?
I vote green.
Honorable Daniels?
Green.
We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting, motion carries. Next will be F, approving a leadership meeting, approving a work session with DCD on June 28th and 29th in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Would like to establish a motion and a second.
Freeland.
Thank you. Second by
Stewart.
Thank you, Honorable Stewart. Dr. Yellowman, are you still on the call? If you are, you requested 2 days. That will be June 28 and 29, Monday and Tuesday. Is that good? Dr. Yellowman? Okay. And I will go ahead and approve this.
Chair, she's on the call and she's trying to unmute herself.
Okay. Dr. Yellowman?
Yes, good afternoon, Chairness. Thank you. The Division of Community Development, we respectfully ask for a 2-day session. We believe that we have quite a bit of items to discuss and look forward to the work session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This pretty much will be where we decide, where you all decide to have it at. So we'll be there for that. Thank you, Dr. Yellowman, for this. Honorable members of RDC, are there any comments or questions? None. Honorable Freeland, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Stewart?
Green.
Honorable Begay?
Chairman Keown votes green. Thank you.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker?
Chairman, I vote green.
Honorable Daniels?
Green.
Thank you. We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting, motion carries. We're on G, approving a leadership meeting with the Department of Justice Water Rights Unit, as well as the Navajo Nation Water Rights Commission and Department of Water Resources. Ms. Begay, what day do you have for us?
Hold on, Chair. Yeah, 9 taken, 6 taken. I have the 12th and 13th and 16th open. Then after that, we're closed for the month of. I'll close.
Okay.
So the 12th,
July.
13th, and 16th.
Okay, the sooner the better. July 12th.
Oh, wait, okay, yeah, July 12th would work. Oh,
Okay, July 12th at 9 o'clock in the morning. I'd like to establish a motion and a second. Motion.
Motion, Stewart.
Thank you. Second by. Is there a second?
Second, Callan.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? None. Honorable Freeland, how do you vote? Honorable Stewart?
Green.
Honorable Begay?
Callan votes green, Chair.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker?
I vote green.
Honorable Daniels?
Green.
Honorable Freeland?
Green.
Thank you. We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed. Chair not voting, motion carries. We're back to legislation 0091-21. Honorable Chairman Henio, are you on the call? Honorable Stewart, did you co-sponsor? Did you sign off on it?
Not yet. I ran into a funeral procession. Sorry.
So you co-sponsored?
No, I'm still en route. I have to wait for them to get off the road.
Okay. Honorable Speaker Damon, are you on the call, sir? Ms. Siako, is Honorable Speaker Damon available?
Chairman Nez, this is Melinda. Unfortunately, Speaker is not available at this time.
Okay, we have Honorable Stewart almost there. I believe he's pulling off the road there to sign off on it. So,
Chair, just go back to, I would recommend that you just go back to the report, and then when the legislations are ready, we can go back to the new business. I think it's going to take a while because Wilson has to come back all the way to the back to do the signature process, everything. So go with the report.
okay, we'll go back to report. Update report on the chapter's allocation of the agriculture infrastructure funds. This will be by Dr. Pearl Yellowman, Department of Agriculture and Division of Natural Resources. So, Dr. Yellowman, you have the floor.
So good afternoon, honorable members of RDC. Thank you for this time, and thank you, Delegate Stewart, for the request. We'd like to give a quick update here. Per our last report, we were learning and understanding the resolution that was provided for DCD and Division of Natural Resources. Since then, on June 2nd, the Division of Community Development, we did send out a memo to the non-certified LGA chapters. And the memo stated that these were preliminary, as preliminary matters. We wanted to begin collecting certain types of information to help build the project. The way the legislation reads, or our interpretation of the legislation, there's two parts of it. There's one part where RDC has oversight of the project formation, and then there's a second part where BNF has oversight on the management plan. And in order for us to build the project portion of it, we had to design the procurement template. So as such, we requested to the chapters for information. We requested for chapter resolution, which identified their quantity for hay, grain, and feed. However, we did learn that additional time would be needed to the chapters to collect the resolution. But I do want to share that it's duly noted. We have been hearing from the chapters and DCD along with OPVP. We traveled to several chapters last week and the week before. Almost every day last week, we were traveling to other chapters or throughout Navajo Nation. There was great concern of the drought we were facing. So we did express our need to receive chapter resolution so that we could move forward on this resolution. So one is an extension for the resolutions to be submitted. We'll be communicating that with the chapters. And then the second is somewhat of a template for procurement. Some of the chapters have submitted their resolution and a draft of what would be going or what would be allocated to hay, grain, and feed from those respective chapters. We do have an AIF tracker of the chapters responding and submitting that information. I am working with ASC and Mr. Lydell Davis, but I also want to share that DCD is responsible for the design of the project or the procurement method and communication with the chapters. We are not responsible for the eligibility requirements. That is designed by the Department of Ag. They have been communicating with the chapters on the eligibility requirements. They have also been communicating with the chapters on livestock feed and supplements, and also the limitations of the livestock assistance program. But in our discussion and in our report last month to RDC, it does read in the legislation that it's for all community members. And there was some concurrence from RDC that we would maintain that language. So Chair Nez, right now there are 5 chapters who have completed their submissions. We expect more to come from the chapters this week, and we will continue to support their chapters' request on their availability to submit their resolutions as they are returning back to almost full operation soon. We also support that at DCD. We're hoping to assist the chapters on full local governance as well. So Chair, those are, that's my report. I'm here for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gilliman. Dr. Shabala or Mr. Leo Watchman, are you on the call? None. Honorable members of RDC, let's establish a motion and a second.
Chairman, I'll motion, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Walker. Honorable members of RDC, do you have any comments or questions for Dr. Yellowman's report?
Chairman.
Honorable Freeland, go ahead, sir.
Chairman, I appreciate it. Good morning. Thank you, Dr. Yellowman, for that report. I'm over here at a chapter meeting right now, Vicente, and what I'm going to do, colleagues, is I'm going to verify with all 8 of my chapters that I represent to ensure that we do have resolutions submitted for the acceptance of these funds. So I think that's one of the vital points made as far as acceptance of these funds and making sure that the chapters are in a position to accept the funds through via resolution. So I'm going to be verifying with my chapters this week and making sure those are in place. So I encourage you as my colleagues as well to maybe do the same as well. So maybe I'll even go as far as the agency level and contact our executive team with Eastern Agency Council. So yeah, Chairman, just wanted to make that point and say thank you again to DC. I know this is not DCD's cup of tea. It's really more of an agriculture area, and I was hoping to hear maybe some input from Dr. Shabala or Mr. Watchman as well. Chantal, thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Freeland. Let me go back to Dr. Yellowman.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, Delegate Freeland. So based on the legislation, the resolution RDC CMA 0721, it does state that BNF, in order for BNF to release the funds, they will need concurrence from the chapters to receive or to accept these funds. So our interpretation was to request from the chapters supporting documents and then to produce the template for the procurement method. So we are working on that. It is it has been a timely or time-consuming legislation, and if Division of Natural Resources are on the line or can be on the line, we really do request for their cooperation or collaboration and communication. So, yeah, Chairman.
Thank you, Dr. Yellowman. Dr. Shabala or Mr. Watchman, are you on the call? Honorable members of RDC, do you have any other comments or questions?
Shania.
Honorable Stewart, you have the floor.
Oh, okay, thank you. First of all, I'm here. Donkey and I made it, so forms are all signed. Manuel's going to get them out. Secondly, Dr. Yellowman, thank you for responding. And Shania, this has been something that the chapters have been calling and leaving messages for me here at Legislative. And so I call them back. If it's not the chapter officials, it's the staff or the grazing official. Okay, just by reading the legislation back to them, go, hey, yeah, that's how I interpret it back to them. And they're still not understanding, that it requires the resolution and the plan of distribution again. And so that's where, that's why the first time again, I asked for the report from this letter that was distributed last week. So that Dr. Yellowman did a letter and then it was concurred by Shabala. Okay, they put a deadline as of Friday, to all the chapters. But in response, and I went down there I called Shabala that morning, and I left him a voicemail. And he never did. Today he hasn't called me back. And then I went and text Dr. Yellowman, and she responded back. And so I went down to talk to because we all know that we each have an ASC that we work with, the chapters work with as well. So I went down to speak to the ASC that I work with from my 4 chapters, and we talked about it. So she said that it was still in discussion. She was unfamiliar with the legislation as well. Forward Ishla, I sent her the legislation, and then that came up yesterday. Like I stated, it came up yesterday in their meeting, the chapter staff meeting, and Delegate Vice Chair Smith was online, and so was I. We talked to the chapter staff about it and explained it to them the best way I know how, and Pat Begay as well. And this is where we're at again. Okay, right now we're getting ready to go into our 4th quarter here in a bit. Okay, these funds have been spent. Okay, and we have several times asked Dr. Shabala to give feedback on different areas or his staff. Okay, then we have a hard time getting feedback from them. So, and I know that Dr. Yellman has reached out to him and asked him, and he did concur on the letter. It's his signature on the letter. But to add support to this legislation from that department, it seems like to me, it seems like we're still getting resistance from them to release the funds or to tell I'm just wondering, is this what our the year 1 funding went through as well? This kind of pullback, is that why we don't have our wells and our windmills up to date and up to par because of this pullback from that department, that division? So that's why I asked for a report from here today. And again, I appreciate the feedback that is given back to us from Dr. Yellman the best way that she can. And like was stated, this is something different for her to deal with. But in working, she's doing what she can with the ASCs and also with her department to make sure that these chapters receive these funds, because I still have been getting a lot of requests again from the small ranchers saying, where is that money? When is it coming? We need it. And then we're just talking about hay, feed, and whatnot. And now I'm hearing, well, what about water? Can you do an amendment to add water? Is what I'm hearing too. So, and that's what we talked about briefly, just in 1 or 2 line texts from Dr. Yellman and I. We talked about that part, but we haven't explored that part yet to see if we can just make an amendment to this legislation. So, Ms. Khan, could I make an amendment to this legislation since it's not really being used to add water in there too? Would that be justifiable? Or what guidance can I get from there? That's what I want to share for this point, Shania. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Stewart. Let's go back to Dr. Yellowman.
Thank you, Chair Ness. Adonana Hihat, Delegate Stewart. Chair Ness, I just want to point out on page 4 of 5 on the RDC CMA legislation, on section 4, it does state under letter B that DCD will work with Division of Natural Resources on the plan and on the 2021 plan and coordinate to ensure that the chapter purchases are within the allowable expenditure. So that's project 1. That's where our memo creates the template for the chapters to produce their expenditure plan. And then the second part on letter C, section 4, page 4 of 5, it states that the Office of the Controller shall not release funds to any chapter until they have received a resolution from the respective chapter identifying the quantity of hay, grain, and feed. So that's why we have been requesting for the resolutions. Again, we do note that some chapters are still meeting. They're having both their planning meeting and their regular chapter meeting, so we are respective of their timeline. But also, it has been brought to our attention that The sales of hay, grain, and feed have been going fast due to some of the drought conditions. And also it was, as I read through the legislation, water was not mentioned. I did mention to Delegate Stewart if that could be reconsidered. However, I was tasked by OPVP to work with BIA to look for additional water sources for livestock. There is a consideration for potable water to the Navajo Nation, but to assist with water. So I appreciate it is a little bit out of our lane and not so much our cup of tea, but these are the challenges that the chapters face and our own relatives. We have animals, we have Nibeholo, so we have goats and sheep too at home, and many of our own staff want to see this completed as well. Shidal, I want to see this. I think, Chair Nez, we can get moving on this, and I think we can move faster on this, and those will be our remarks for now. Thank you.
Good to hear. Thank you. Honorable Keelan Begay, you're next.
Chairman, it's more of a general statement or a comment on this. The legislation somehow we make it, I guess, cumbersome for chapters to go through certain procedures, process. And I'm not sure what is the solution. The best way where once it's approved, the turnaround is within 10 days. وبالخطأتني الجيشتو تايسي أتاخد إيتو أناهوت خليتي إندا يالكين لات نهنتي أكوكو. I'm sure some chapters have their emergency funds. To end it, she thought about and this also goes to the question of our emergency declaration. Akoko dunlate hiki to 8IC nanish at the Boston Codon hit in Beli Holoniki Akoko Halet ala e Ditol Linigi at he's so bad that when I don't leave water chapter house that kid does it. I don't can yes, we can say that it is a responsibility of the livestock ownership need. Akoko awat aid to at nabaka nature to baka nail wako to baka tat e koko yat a sensha ado our grazing officials. That's where they come in making they make these recommendations to us. To beslato ya yat Akoko Satoto P.C.K. Bespeta Husson. Akoko, where I say it gets complicated, the Sniniki, with the chapter, though the community, Yolanda Ise had need. These things that the net off. Let's say people, some of our great chapter officials may not have livestock or have little knowledge, like some of us. Speaking for myself, although the community that voted that the chapter resolution, Tatato Arch in the Tatnian egg with the Opila Sasni. However, it was planned that the no that the she did egg go Sato Pipchin Nahun Agote Nielsen. So how can we have the ultimate decision making of these approvals that our grazing official has these approval process? Halet Ela Nsen. A chapter resolution is a resolution. To me, it is just a cumbersome situation. That even there chapter meeting, the call how much funding, how many resources, just so that a document goes to an office where funding will be coming back. But not based on kid. That Haki Halet Allah Jopa Ilia Gopohonet, not Ahenson, Ban Saske Steve Desnant, what the RDC members need. Leniki. And then it is good that the Division Community Development, but who is responsible? The Koto Leniki could the Division of Natural Resource, the Water Management, and the Department of Agriculture be the forefront in making these discussions or requests. So, not to say that Ms. Yellowman shouldn't be talking about it, or to say that her department shouldn't be talking about it, but they have other areas to be dealing with. Akoko sato lahit ego koto yaden liniki atskilta ko pi ni ko pohnet zando listen. If it's going to take to revise the legislation quickly rather than waiting for the funding to get to the chapter, we might as well sponsor legislation and to the committee and make the changes if needs to be. Halet Elan Soban says case. At Otit Abahanet to Ado Quotena. Junlat Bahanek a Dick a deed of baseballs on the base of not as me. A co-codate and then the Ole Naotle Halet El Haholapis on Dela. Other codate chapters a holder that on his own another hot seat. Other that maybe grading official may say that, well, we weren't informed. Other his own his horn that the dog had Ashiban as the holder. Just like she the other some chapters grading official she not paid that then so all in all, Halet Allah Zobat il Bana il Istolitida Edita that it all at Atskilko Bana il Yago Biganson. And then on top of that, Chairman, I apologize for taking up too much time here. The drought situation. Akoko Dana when the Tatashakuko email the leadership of the Navajo Nation, the speaker, out of the president, out of BIA. I believe I CC'd the division director of Division of Natural Resource and Department of Agriculture. There was a picture was sent to me by our irrigation office that many farms lake and Kaditandi. He told with the weather, the temperature that we're going to be having this week, I believe it's going to be all dried up by the end of the week. The better. I don't even going further. The nature to us all that Halet Aba is Nahla to 8. Kodit at and the Nahas, Nergot Ot at Itoko Asaki Epaha Bahanatze. Ada Belach, Haji La or the Halit Alan Yandat, Ilahit Alaba Nahat Ila, Ikatortastin Hatne. A conlate a serious situation. Ho Aquantat Aquashi, the Nenkitija. Hajilandas de La. A conlate the Nakut Enhesni, to Yego Hohot, is the end the 8 Agushi Ade, Na Nature Habantika. A could abet said the Hajo so there's the Nibe and Nashkota, hot aim the Hajo e Toshin Yego, Hit Ada Apodo Nita. Took the batch out that Agito batch at the neat Agito Quacky, Kishi Hajotan. Public Ahui needs and all this. So in this situation, what is the current drought contingency plan? Halet ala case and meda elahit up hot asla ajiti koko the next several days there's no near sight for precipitation on the hastikin the no bahane ako elahit ela from now until then. But I see to not as the shot. I could see to bake as it the back. Those up contact at the Kahata. Other annals lost it. The Shinko naturally said the whole doniki 8 but the whole no that. A quacky Yego should be Ashland chairman. Other RDC members need Liniki. Call Dick at base of Bahaldon go. Yego Banahun, Ado Yego Nahun Abahun, Eko E needs them. On top of that, a situation is at hand, and we don't even have an overall procedure and process that our program is as making plan. Which area, which agency, which chapter are beginning to feel the situation here. A chapter that has agoti ego koshite but the hot end other she honnaita chehti nido chihlap ajo ko ni ho chele no ya yasti a conhes do messages slant ego ado hunti sin that nahan that jonne. So if a delegate have asked or made a call or made a communication with no response, just imagine what our local chapters are going through. Then lot the chapter officials done. Then the gishin ehohot our chapter coordinator shin ehohot she sato ado shit osad. Then the gi na kaisto kon he kodo the batch at the needs and a ko shinant ashonde hit aholaba il nato hit alaba iliado little quacky a coco. As soon as possible, could we get a report directly from the Division of Natural Resource, the Water Management, the Department of Agriculture, and the BIA from each agency? Specifically, Chairman, I'm requesting this through the committee, that what is their overall plan in dealing with this drought issue and the no participation issue, and how much that they're willing and how much resource and funding are available immediately. Because Hazard a Latin chapter dog grazing officials and Linigi papers nahotis netobe chohotit as arch Coco to beso Tihobahunt at the chapter house has the emergency funding as the big in the stats Kododa the shibes on his windows near Kodo legislation that's present Ilya Godo develop Ilya Goko Johoto need to go to chapter Linigi to the Shin up the yard Linigi Cheetos is go to Shin a co what ego go Shisazido Sinant Kodo on behalf of the Chile agency chapter grazing officials other but the Berlin Holdoniki other but Holdoniki what ego go Kodo Papa Nice Candole Chairman what I Kodo Bahasit or Leto request Slagi Shando Lashin Dole, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Begay. And even the grazing officials are calling me as well. Let me give some time over to Mr. Bartholomew Stevens, BIA, who will address some of this and respond to some of these concerns. So, Mr. Stevens, welcome.
Good afternoon, Chairman Nez and other members of the RDC, as well as other council delegates and other dignitaries that are on this important call. I was just alerted that this meeting was taking place and wanted to be able to speak to you all and so forth. And I quickly read through some emails and a document that brings me current, I think, on some of the issues, seeing some of those pictures that were forwarded by Delegate Kiel and Begay showing the mini farms, I don't know what it is, a pond or lake or what have you, the water collection section that appears to be drying up rather quickly with these high temperatures and lack of precipitation that perpetuate this happening. I've since asked of the region to get a better understanding of what, if anything, the BIA can do to assist. Often reprogramming funds is not something that happens quickly, let alone not depending on availability and so forth. So I have some questions of the region to pull together some information on, what recourse we have. Certainly, I understand the issue. It's, in my opinion, reaching emergency status if we have livestock and other farming activity that depends on this water resource. And we certainly want to be able to do what we can, when we can, with what that looks like. Low-hanging fruit, or something that seems plausible to me anyway at this point, is we could possibly assist at your request hauling water. I don't know where we would haul it to. I don't know if livestock is being refilling a lake or a pond is gonna take a lot of water delivery, but I don't know if you have other things in place. So what I would rather do is, along with you all and possibly Dr. Shabala and others within his branch or his shop, work alongside with our Natural Resources Division to immediately get together and develop a strategy. So if water hauling was provided by the BIA, what would that look like? How would we get that done? Where would it be delivered to? And so forth. And certainly we don't want to put forth an effort and then just be back in the same situation again if we were with these extreme weather conditions. So I think pulling together a team that I referenced to not just understand the issue, I think we all understand, but what solution could the BIA participate in to assist where we can? And what comes to mind first and foremost is the ability to haul water. But again, we need to know the specifics of where that would go, where would it be stored, how would we protect it from evaporating just as quickly, how do we get the animals what they need in terms of water. So, Chairman Nez, again, thanks for listening to me and thanks for allowing me to speak. But without having that team come together and really problem solve and come forward with some strategy for solving this, even temporarily, to ensure that animals are staying alive and are being watered, then we can then determine what next steps BIA can take to assist. And again, coordination is key with Navajo Nation natural resources, our natural resources, and then of course the chapter as well. But again, thanks for having me, and certainly I'm happy to be a part of this conversation and part of the solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens. Let me go back to Dr. Yellowman.
Thank you, Chairness Adonana here. Thank you, Director Stevens. Chair, back to the content of the report. We'll continue to solicit the information from the chapters, try to expedite the process for the request from the Controller's Office to release the funds. If amendments are to be made to this particular legislation, we do have recommendations. We do have recommendations that would address some of the following, such as the responsibility for the remaining procurement, the division of natural resources, completing the task, or DCD. We would make recommendations and have recommendations. But nonetheless, Chair, we want to complete this. And as Delegate Kialan said, we do have quite a bit on our plate regarding the ARPA project listing. But we can share our tracker, our AIF tracker, as we receive additional information from the chapters and keep RDC updated. But we will continue to work through ASC and communicating with the chapters. There was a suggestion made on getting agency council resolutions that could be supported and accepted as well, and we welcome that. If that were to replace all of the chapter resolutions, that might have to be reconsidered at RDC, but nonetheless, we would support that. Thank you, Chair. And if reconsideration to add water to this legislation, we are happy to assist in that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Yellowman. Honorable Daniels. Honorable Daniels.
Mr. Chair, Kachan Hodifaj.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I was muted. I need to try yesterday. But could I write down? Should not I don't think with the Resources and Development Committee and other colleagues could I not flaggy because staff so could other than could so to the years could Delegate Stewart could yeah could for put it this on the agenda could this is very important could or in front could I go down that did and I to level I see the then I think that in Manama Valley say they then there's no forage for cattle, horses, then I don't know. The same with water. The natural springs are just dry. I think that windmill water that be yada net I don't know. Even with the Lake Powell, I was told a figure Yahoo next door. The San Juan Rivers, so I see what this is very, very serious and I need Ecuador for our Navajo Nation Ecuador and right basically should they don't even get Ecuador a big equity on it. RDC, Dream Belancy, Toledo, Ecuador, Beda on the Spania. I got this street and the Ataki Hort at the whole chapters of Lauta. beso johon meta ho so katani gama be that on listen sundet and ho hot so kwato I see we really need to sit down, I see the sooner the better RDC are in the Kodona Division of Natural Resources. Jay Ajig of the dead did the year of the dead the Tuna larger out on the great childa. Out of the Kodo doctor element gets started. She or net Zado let's go out of the Kodo other entities that like BIA they can sit in our meeting Kodo the great to the road that case of the great West Springs Ranch. The social out a by yet with the Navajo Nation Fish and Wildlife. So that Ecuador maybe we should have a discussion. The sooner the better. Maybe at Wolf Springs Ranch we can put this on our agenda to discuss the Ecuador yet. So I see Ecuador. I don't know at the same time, grazing officials, we really need to educate our livestock owners throughout the Navajo Nation. The ranchers done even though it's the lingo the hayut and the beo the hayu the bekashida. I don't know. There's a lot of feral horses. So a hinhala toyana the kai. I don't that then halita the article which is that the cost for did. So a day I could on the radar or maybe sometimes next week the article is yeah. I just said that hard towns run dollars stated also the who's now or you don't have. Or yes, I could all damn Mr. Chair. So it is that over $3 could all I see. Which is that the catheder, so that the need be to make it now deal. So I don't know from that meeting we should have a direction. So idiot Mr. Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Daniels. We all agree we should sit down and really discuss the approach that we can take to help our Navajo people that have livestock. Right now, they're struggling. There's water is very scarce, as Mr. Stevens stated. This extreme drought conditions, today, just right now, is just very hot, high temperatures and no rain, lack of precipitation. No. So what can we do, Koro, Moscow? One suggestion made by Dr. Yellowman is to amend the legislation and perhaps add water to it. The Napa Neheke, that's a big hara la Tohogin Heke Biga. Horat Egoshin Koro Bansi Kestolation and so let me go back to Dr. Yellowman and then I'll go back to RDC.
Thank you, Chair Nez, and members of RDC, and to our respected leaders at BIA. We will continue, as I shared, with collecting the information for the chapters and can assist with any of the amendments. Also, I know that it was shared that it was not our cup of tea, but there are some basic eligibility requirements shared by the Division of Natural Resources. I would also recommend that those be reconsidered. It does state in the basic requirements that no horses, llamas, or alpacas can benefit from this. So just a review of the basic eligibility requirements. There's also livestock feed and supplements as defined in their requirements and limitation of livestock feed assistance. So I think the reason why I bring this up is because the chapters utilize or have other animals in their community, And but when we're asked at DCD to respond to these requests, or when we are active in these types of legislation, we find ourselves advocating on behalf of the chapters, or at least trying to represent some of the chapter concerns and voice there, as many of the council delegates as well. But any additional information that we can help support the chapter concerns, we'll continue to do so, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Yellowman. Honorable members of RDC, any other comments or questions?
Chairman.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Chair, for the time here. Other committee members, and then other council delegates that are on the call. Although staff, though presenters, though Dr. Yellowman, though other officials, the BIA, and other tribal offices that are on this call. This is a very important discussion, and I am thinking of a number of areas of to concentrate on if we are to, I guess, revise or amend the legislation, the funding appropriations, the AIFE, to amend that for more clarification, or to make it in more definitive terms, or to broaden the language in various areas. Another month will pass really soon. We just say, well, what's the answer? We're waiting for responses from divisions, departments, programs. I think it's always sometimes strategically better just to get the legislation, put it on the table, and that will, the process will allow us to come together. It'll draw stakeholders together and start looking at issues and problems. They'll start looking for solutions. She get Delegate Stewart here in Window Rock right now. You could, I think, drop legislation, or at least request to draft up some amendments and then drop that legislation. Some of us are way out, away from Window Rock. It takes a whole more than half a day, to travel there and back just to do paperwork. One of my communities, water supply is dropping. We were alerted by the water provider, which is the natural gas company, who allows us to use a watering point that they have established years ago. And we are very appreciative and grateful for that service they provide. Recently, they posted a notice at the watering point that the supply is diminishing. So that is the reliable community watering point. And then the other one's at the chapter house. Okay, that's NTUA watering point, and that's for people load up water for a fee. So it's either pay the fee or the other one, which is free. So we may have to start rationing, that water supply. If there's a way to do it, we certainly will probably figure that out, or just do it without water once it's gone. I thought I'd never see, that day when almost what seemingly an endless supply of water that we have at that watering point is diminishing. The supply is in question. So although I know that other communities around us in the area, other chapters, they come to that watering point also with large water tanks, and they like to load up twice, 3 times a day to keep a good supply of water for their needs, their livestock needs. Other with the hay and feed assistance program, what's to be. I think water could be included. Maybe water should be a major portion of that. Not to say that hay and feed is not important, but water seems to be really, there's a critical need for that, right now. Maybe we just feel that way because of the excessive heat that we're experiencing, this long dry heat spell that's going to last for several days. After it cools down, maybe some rain come in, then I think we all will feel differently at that time, look at the problem differently. Right now, it has our attention. The drought, the excessive heat, the need for water, the livestock. Although what we do as humans to help livestock, to help animals, that's critical thinking is involved, and it's challenging. But I'm in contact with one of my grazing officers. Who do we help? Do we help all livestock owners or just the permit holders? Although, as you know, over in Western area, we have NPL grazing permittees whose permits were canceled. So anytime an opportunity like this comes out, then they have to be considered as another category of residents or population. Their well-being is in our hands, whether if they're permitted livestock, they're branded, or they have ownership. I feel right now that is the net people, livestock that are on our land, our homeland, they're our responsibility. From wildlife, what the heck? Not what the even I think not so legislation. Quite the shin hika deal she get Delegate Stewart. Ben did not up and another deeply. But Mr. Chairman, thank you for this time.
Thank you very much, Honorable Vice Chair Walker. So, Honorable Stewart, since your legislation was passed, perhaps go to Office of Legislative Counsel and have another legislation drafted to make these specific amendments to assist our livestock owners. One other thing that was mentioned also was llamas, alpaca. They cannot benefit from this AIF money. There has to be an encouragement to our livestock owners to downsize their number of livestock. How can we do that to help them do this? And another area is there's quite a bit of farmlands over here along San Juan River. A lot of these farmlands are idle. And there's a lot of idle farmlands, and I think that's where some of them need to be canceled out. They just cannot work on their farms for years. It's just been sitting there. And I think it's time that BIA as well as Department of Agriculture and farm boards can start reissuing some of these farm leases to those that are willing to work the farm. So it doesn't just sit there with our water rights agreement. And we also have on the line with us Dr. Rudy Shabala and Chief of Staff, Mr. Paulson Chaco. Let me give some time over to Dr. Shabala.
Chairman, can you come in the queue box and after them? Thank you.
Okay. Dr. Shabala?
Good afternoon, Shanant. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Shabala. Oh, yeah, Shanant, Chairman. Rick Nez, Aaron, the Shanant, Adan, Siniki. Yat, Aaron, the Taisano Slangi, the Anna Toyate. Dara, Jason John, but in Ishado, the Quanoft Eshi, starting his a cargo, the ditch. Now, so Adok at a but you question it, though, Shan, not Bedini. The two on the radar, Yego, and Hiti Ille. Beshna, but let's how to Tabedi. A coho hanet, it ego, Tskiko. Toba has ago, a daliago, la height, Elanso. Shanant, Paulson Chaco. Should a heart zito ein le saho teen ben da ajnishanko a teen da hot lejanko neka gita agi toya at the asnel a coho 8 and obatian as ambedada eskisko halet ela bedat il oto are hat lozo the net are to this idoles that the no bandit isn't a call Hanet out at the donut. The osa date at other halate skills on need all this. Out of the quigo shishi a quota hot as toba as argo at the over that discs. A coho, that's is set all this. Aro, it'll just make room and open up for more water availability. Aro adeya Santa Atletico etohatazle. Aro saeta betzilo tohatazle. Saeya tozo dast ozo. But atazd the net aro totish engine. I call Edo Benage out the Edo at Satan he don't need. I call Ak at the dawn Niki station and I a sanat lego to Are hatas liniki the more we yasdo the more I still aren't ego shan. I call the Kade the Mobis condone that initially that Edo. The network on but hoti. The more we do, the more sto on that Aliasha. Eak at the door, Nick Eak at Ansi. But bears on it all, that bear. As Kate no cago. ARDG don't Nick. A call. What are a she got her decision and
Thank you. Aro bahenji gidi thota that as nelgi nacha $100 net load chuino it'll get a natural in up and yet no henji gi aro sar e nirla ala e bekek echo e hotet arna bekiat kiko but dot nis get a nepa no for some of you that have just got on the line we're discussing the Agriculture Infrastructure Fund legislation that was approved by the Resource and Development Committee. We received a report from Dr. Yellowman and now also briefly by Dr. Shabala, also from BIA, Mr. Stevens as well. So a few things were recommended: extensions for chapters to complete their submissions of pertinent documents, and a plan of distribution, a declaration of emergency for the drought, the extreme drought that we are experiencing throughout the Navajo Nation. How do we distribute funds quickly? There is very high temperatures and a lack of precipitation, as well as what's needed is depending on the availability of funds. We need to identify what areas as well, and we can start perhaps having a water hauling project. There's a recommendation to have an amendment to the legislation as well. Di koro by GG di tobera test anagi na shahwanda do neto chama ido le hodo ne hot na biki yasil here. And also to have our permittees have some sort of livestock reduction, downsize. Can people afford to have a lot of animals during this drought? So that's just a recap of what we had discussed today. Honorable members of RDC, are there any other comments or questions? Honorable Freeland, you're next.
Chairman, thank you. Colleagues, Chairman, I think you made a very important point. Herd reduction. How do we start? I don't want to say emphasizing, but how do we start encouraging? We have a lot of our permittees, livestock owners are persistent to keeping, full herds. We need to start reducing and encouraging that at some point. Some have already started that. But how do we start educating our people on the importance of that? And set forth a long-term goal. Let's reheal the land. Let's get the forage back. And once that happens, after we, of course, get rain, then we can start, looking at potentially regrowing our herds back again and having them come back. But it's going to be a fix. It could be short term. It could be long term. We don't know. We don't have a magic wand or crystal ball to predict the weather. But I'm encouraging that, speaking to the ranchers out here, I've had these discussions and, with our landlords too, and we'll probably hear more of this on the 25th, but, we've got to start somehow, some way, whether that's PSAs, whether that's Facebook, pamphlets, something. We've got to start putting this message out some way. And I don't know if we can do it as RDC, as a council, as an advocate. We've got to put this message out, and it's got to get to all of our people in unison. And, it's real important time right now. And, we're in the midst of having calves and newborns, and you're going to have yearlings pretty soon. You're going to go to market. And then we also have others that are turning in wool. That's the other thing we haven't talked about too, Chairman, was a lot of our people are shearing, whether that's wool or mohair. They're taking it into Gallup or Farmington, and they're not getting their fair value of what those prices are. And then these distributors or these traders will turn around and sell it probably 2 or 3 times more of what they paid our people for. So that's another front we need to talk about is wool prices or mohair prices. Our people are not getting the full value of those values as well. So, Chairman, I agree. I don't know how we can do this, but whether this can be an RDC initiative, that would be great. But but start putting out PSAs and start encouraging our people. We just got to start talking about unfortunately, have to have these hard discussions about herd reductions, but it's got to take place at some point, Chairman. So thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Freeland. Ms. Begay, as well as Ms. Siako, honorable members of RDC, since all delegates within their areas are experiencing the same conditions throughout 110 chapters. That being said, perhaps we need to request funding from Speaker's office to have a radio forum or announcements made by leadership, either RDC, if we could use our own funds for RDC to speak to the issue in each of the 5 agencies, or open up to all delegates and use the Navajo Nation Council's fund budget to do this, to pay for radio announcements, letting people know, Honorable Freeland, encouraging and educating and letting them know that this drought, this is an extreme drought happening right now. Before it gets any worse, we got to have a plan, short-term, long-range plans. And one of them is reducing the size of their livestock. Dr. Shabala, we would like for you to provide an update on the Agriculture Infrastructure Fund allocation and how you're working with the Division of Community Development. Dr. Shabala.
Yateshanantai, Chairman Rick Ness, Shadishna Rudy Shabala, Leo Watchman, Hanaish Sado, Kwa Nashnishikishan Napadini, Ado Jason Jando, Bedat Silni, Eshikwa, Babasata, Ado Aunt Ane, Hanedna Agriculture Infrastructure Fund, Esanil Dolis. Today, the hot Agi Totasti, Digi Papeso Sunnel, Pandate, a call, Eshi at the dealing store. Ha na she ahana ash but she at sahaliniki kunel na hono identity missionanta. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shabala. Honorable Daniels earlier mentioned to add to the agenda when we are over at Wolf Springs Ranch to have Fish and Wildlife provide a report on these drought conditions again. And perhaps next week during RDC meeting, we need to schedule a leadership meeting as soon as possible. And perhaps the way we can do it, Shananta, is have an in-person meeting and really discuss, bring everybody together, Division of Natural Resources, Department of Agriculture, Fish and Wildlife, Department of Justice, BIA, and if there's anybody that I left out, perhaps even each 5 agencies grazing executive officer. They can provide some recommendations, and we could have an all-day event discussing this. And perhaps we can have it at Twin Arrows or building large enough to where we sit separate, at least 10 feet, 9 feet, 6 feet apart, and still have our precautionary measures in place. Are there any other comments or questions, honorable members of RDC? Atenya Hakbushila, I believe we discussed all we needed to discuss here. It's been it's been 1 hour and 10 minutes on this topic here. So if there's no further questions or comments, we can put this to a vote to accept the report. Honorable Freeland, how do you vote?
Green, Chairman.
Honorable Stewart. Honorable Stewart.
Green.
Honorable, okay, gotcha. Honorable Begay.
Chairman Keall votes green. Thank you.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker.
I vote green.
Honorable Daniels.
Green.
We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting, motion carries. Yeah, Dr. Yellowman, Dr. Shabala, Mr. Stevens, and everybody on the line. Thank you very much. Back to new business. Thank you. We're down to B, legislation 0091-21. Ms. Begay, could you kindly read this into the record, please? Ms. Begay?
Sorry, Mr.
Star
Chair.
6.
I just unmuted myself. Okay, you have legislation 0091-21. The legislative summary sheet date on it is June 8, 2021. The title of the resolution is an action relating to resource development, Budget and Finance Committee, Nabakia Committee, and Navajo Nation Council allocating $2 million in CSN funds to the Canoncito Band of Navajo Healthcare Center Incorporated for the Canoncito Clinic Expansion Project, approving and adopting the Canoncito Clinic Expansion Project Expenditure Plan pursuant to 12 NNC sections 2501 through 2508. The prime sponsor of this legislation is Honorable Jamie Hinyo, and co-sponsored by Wilson Stewart Jr. This legislation will be going to Budget and Finance, then on to Nabakia, then Navajo Nation Council will have final authority. Until it reaches the Navajo Nation Council, the legislation will be fully read into the record. As I indicated, it's an action that relates to allocating $2 million in CSN funds to the Canoncito Band of Navajo's Healthcare Center Incorporated, and also approving their expenditure plan. The exhibits that are referenced in the content of the legislation, they're all attached to the packet, including pictures and the diagrams and drawings of the project. Those are all attached to the legislations that I emailed to you this morning. The packet was posted on the council website on June 8, 2021, which is on page 58 of the packet. The Internet Public Review Summary, which is page 59, will indicate the 5-day comment period ended on June 13, 2021. And there was no comments received. And so this legislation was referred to RDC for their action. Mr. Chair and members of the committee, back to you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Begay. Honorable members of RDC, let's establish a motion and a second. Motion. Honorable Daniels, thank you. Second by?
Stewart.
Honorable Stewart. Thank you. Honorable Chairman Henyo, are you on the call? If not, we'll go to Honorable Stewart, co-sponsor. You have the floor. 20 minutes.
Okay, Shania, this legislation, though RDC, this legislation again is for the Kansas Band Indians, and the request that has also gone through the 5-day comment period, and it's now in our hands to decide if we are going to support this legislation. And it is dealing with our the Net people from the Eastern Agency side of the Navajo Nation. We have heard several times that we don't give enough assistance to them, but I know that through RDC we do provide as much services as we can across the nation to all of our constituents. So with that in mind, I'm asking for your favorable response on a green vote on this one to support our tribal members on that side. And again, it's just a co-sponsorship I'm doing with Shania, Mr. Hinio, on this and other duties and meetings that he is attending this morning. So that's why I went ahead and co-sponsored this legislation for him. Thank you, Shania.
Thank you, Honorable Stewart. Honorable members of RDC, this legislation will go next to Budget and Finance, Navajo Etiquette Committee, and the full council. Are there any comments or questions? None. We'll go ahead and put it to a vote. Honorable Freeland, how do you vote? Honorable Stewart?
Green.
Honorable Begay?
Chairman Kale votes green. Thank you.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker?
I vote green.
Honorable Daniels?
Green.
Thank you. I did get a text message from Honorable Freeland. He votes green. We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed. Chair not voting. Motion carries for legislation 0091-21. Honorable Stewart, thank you. Next, C, legislation 0092-21. Ms. Begay, could you read this into the record? Honorable Stewart is also the co-sponsor.
Mr. Chair and members of the committee, you have legislation number 0092-21. The legislative summary sheet date on it is June 4, 2021. An action relating to Resource Development and Budget and Finance Committee, approving a change in Resolution CAP 3518 for Tseyato chapter by deleting the Tseyato chapter renovation project and adding the chapter house demolition project. This legislation is assigned to both RDC and Budget and Finance Committee. Prime sponsor of this legislation is Honorable Seth Damon, and now co-sponsored by Delegate Wilson Stewart. The legislation will be read into the record at Budget and Finance Committee. The exhibits that are attached, they're all referenced in the content of the legislation, and those exhibits are attached to the packet that I sent out to you all for your information. The packet was posted on June 8, 2021, and the 5-day comment period ended on June 13, 2021, and there was no comments received. Mr. Chair and members of the committee, back to you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Begay. Honorable members of RDC, let's establish a motion and a second.
Delegate Daniels here. I motion.
Thank you. Second by? Second.
Stewart.
Keelan.
Honorable Begay. Thank you. Honorable Stewart, you have 20 minutes.
Okay, again, not and it's not this afternoon through our RDC meeting. This one a Nana co-sponsor, Nana Shlagi a but this is regarding the Telecom chapter, their CAP 3815 that we usually do as far as assisting our chapters as well for our chapter innovations for the projects that have been changed from the chapter leadership into and asking for a change in legislation for the request. And this is what that is for. As stated, there are no comments received. So all is good with the legislation as well. Krishna.
Thank you. Honorable members of RDC, this legislation goes to Budget and Finance, who will have final authority. Are there any comments or questions? None. We'll put it to a vote. Honorable Freeland, how do you vote? Honorable Stewart?
Green.
Honorable Begay?
Chairman Keelan votes green.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker?
I vote green.
Honorable Daniels?
I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Freeland is excused. We have a vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed. Chair not voting. Motion carries. Thank you, Honorable Stewart. Next on the agenda, number 8, conclusion of committee meeting. Other announcements. Shananta, do you have any announcements?
Mr. Chair, this is our delegate.
Go ahead, Honorable Daniel.
Yes, Mr. Chair, this is not an announcement, but maybe at our next meeting, we'll put it on the agenda to have a leadership meeting with NAPI. Okay, but not just in the case. I see that think that we flag on our Navajo reservation that then. So the NAPI is on clock 8 at late. I don't know what the rate and then Lenny could as they chose acquired on the year. So, the great leadership meeting. Maybe at the next meeting, without I don't know what maybe they run out of hay. So I see a lot of trucks coming in, semi trucks. How do you see that? And not the so you could do that. Oh, you have a papa first case. Could and hit the man, Lenny could open it. Open the day NATO lessons for instead from the outside. Pelicana that how does she companies and not the so yes, maybe I'll request that to be put on the next meeting's agenda without that, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a really good idea. That should probably be part of the discussion when we come together also, but we can have a separate leadership meeting with NAPI representatives on the lack of alfalfa and hay on the Navajo Nation and how and what we all can do to help our Navajo people. So, Honorable Daniels, and also while we haven't adjourned yet, I would like to encourage Dr. Shabala and Dr. Yellowman and Department of Agriculture staff to participate in the RDC work session with Division of Fish and Wildlife on Tuesday when we talk about climate change and the impacts that it has. We also can invite the 5 agency grazing officials, executive officers, we'll reach out to them and make sure they're on that call as well. So that will be our announcements. Any other announcements, Nanda? None. Motion to adjourn.
Motion, Chair, this is Daniel.
Thank you, Honorable Daniel. Second by is there a second?
I'll second, Chair.
Okay, Honorable Vice Chair Walker, thank you. Any comments or questions? None. Honorable Freeland's excused. Honorable Stewart, how do you vote? Honorable Begay, how do you vote?
Chairman Kell votes green.
Thank you. Honorable Vice Chair Walker.
I vote green.
Honorable Daniels.
Green.
Honorable Stewart. We have a vote of 3 in favor, 0 opposed. Chair not voting. It is now 1:22 p.m. We are officially adjourned. Thank you very much and be safe out there and may God bless you all. Thank you, staff. Appreciate all you do. Thank you, Speaker's office too.